If you're not taking T3, that form of active thyroid hormone, you're not doing anything. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television, RXMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your weekly 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. Bodybuilding, non-bodybuilding, diet, training, supplementation. It is all on the table. We're going to jump right into the question. Ali, before we do that, it is Memorial Day weekend, and our friends over at Titan Medical have a great deal in store for you on their panels for males. Dave, you could jump in a little bit more about this, but
blood work
the service is usually $200, now $130 for males, and for females, $200, which typically retails at $300.
Yeah, they're giving a huge discount on blood work, and I think that that's a great little entrance into the Titan doorway, because once you get in there and you get that blood work done, then they can make recommendations in terms of if you want to do hormone replacement, if you want to get some vitamin prescriptions written for you, if you want to do HCG, the pregnancy protocol that I put out there, they have that as well. So, it's an entrance into the doorway. And you know what? I think it's important that, people get their blood work done. Not everyone has insurance. Not everyone, wants to go to their doctor because they're embarrassed. And a lot of times doctors won't write the full hormone panels. This is really cheap for hormone. Testosterone and all those things, they cost a lot of money. We're talking, if you go to your physician and you don't have insurance, you're going to pay $500 plus. So this is a super, super deal only through, and I think she's extending it through Memorial Day just for RX Muscle people. So when you call there, just make sure you mention RX Muscle, TitanMedicalCenter.com. And also, like I said, if you want to get on hormone replacement or anything else, you can tell them that, and they're going to give you a discount if you mention RX Muscle and Dave Palumbo. So thank you, Sharice and John over at Titan for sponsoring us and supporting us all these years.
So again, check them out at TitanMedicalCenter.com and mention RX Muscles. Go to the questions. The first two questions on the show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, can you explain a little bit about T3? And I guess they want a primer. Who should take it? Should you split the dose? How long to take it for? And just what is the science behind it? Should you still take it if your levels are normal, if there is any benefit?
Yeah, I'm going to have Sid clip this because I probably get asked this question multiple times a week. And, it's worth repeating because a lot of people obviously don't have the answer to it. A lot of time, thyroid hormone is like the thermostat in your body. So you can turn it up, you can turn it down a little bit to increase, metabolism, lower metabolism. But at the end of the day, the thing that's actually doing the fat burning is your muscles. So if you don't have a lot of muscle tissue and you turn up the thermostat, you're going to get a little bit more fat burning, but not much. When you turn the thermostat up and you have a lot of muscle, it tends to work even better. So what we do when we're dieting people very often, especially with women, because, you don't want to use a lot of anabolic steroids on women because they cause side effects, masculinizing side effects, but T3, T4, these thyroid hormones don't do that. They don't have masculinizing side effects, so we can use them, strategically to burn fat. But there's two forms of thyroid hormone that we essentially deal with: T4, which is a thyroxine, which is produced directly by the thyroid gland, and then T4 gets converted to T3, which is the active thyroid hormone. So if you're going to supplement your routine to try to increase fat burning, taking extra T4 is going to do nothing for you because your body won't convert it to T3 if it doesn't need to. T4 is used for people like myself who don't have a thyroid gland or who are low thyroid to supplement, because then what you do is you give your body the T4 and my body will convert what it needs into T3. But if you're actually trying to force fat burning to occur, you can only use T3 to do that because that's active thyroid hormone. We usually start off at a dose around 25 micrograms per day, and we can increase that. And I usually increase it by in increments of 12.5 microgram dosages. So it would be like a half of a 25 microgram pill. And you can increase that every 2 to 3 weeks. You don't ever want to usually go over 100 micrograms per day. A lot of times, most people don't even need to go over 50 to 75 micrograms per day. But you inch it up to help continue the fat burning process. And once again, it's like you're inching the thermostat in your body up a little bit at a time. You don't want to turn it up too fast because then you can get palpitations, you can have side effects. So you want to inch it up slowly. And a lot of times it's combined with clenbuterol because they seem to have a nice synergistic effect together. And usually people are started at 20 micrograms twice a day of clenbuterol. So that's a nice fat burning stack. But the bottom line is that if you're not using T3, you're basically wasting your time.
Second question. Again, these first two questions are from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. This question is about you. Have you changed anything with your diets in the last 2 years, or are they mainly the same when you started coaching?
I'm a creature of habit. If anyone wanted to whack me and knock me off, I do this. I go to the same place. I eat at the same places every day. I'm pretty predictable. And that's probably why I have very predictable results. I'm always lean. Is it because I eat perfectly? I don't, I can eat. I have a very good metabolism, but I eat pretty clean. Yeah. All day long, and I don't miss meals very often. I get my 5 meals in minimum per day. Sometimes if I can push it, I can get a 6th meal or a 6th shake or a bar in or something like that. But more than likely, I'm eating 5. So I'm definitely less than I was when I was competing. When I was competing, it was a minimum of 7 for maintenance. When I was trying to grow, it was upwards of 12, a day, 12 feedings a day. But for most of the time, I was able to maintain on 6 or 7 meals a day. Nowadays, like I said, I'm doing 5. If I push it to 6 and I can actually hit 6, consecutively days in a row, I start to grow. And so I think the only thing holding me back from putting on more muscle is the fact that I just don't have time to do all the eating, and I just don't feel like doing that much eating. And to be honest with you, I don't really need to get that much bigger, but I can do it. It's usually food related. And but what I try to do is I try to eat clean most of my meals. Meaning I'm not big into sugars. I don't eat a ridiculous amount of carbs, but I do eat some carbs because I do have a fast metabolism. I always try to get all my fats in, whether they be through avocados or Species Nutrition's macadamia. I pour that on all my foods. That's where I get most of my fats. Obviously, I try to get some saturated fats. I eat whole eggs in the morning, 5 of those every single morning, extra larges. So I'm getting a lot of saturated fat. I'll have red meat several times a week. Lately, my metabolism has been going crazy. I don't know if it's because it's hot out here or what. Or maybe I put a little more muscle on. So I've been actually eating McDonald's a couple days a week, even just to kind of bolt. That seems to be my go-to food when I'm having trouble gaining weight. But I don't usually do that every single day. Although the last 2 weeks I have. So it varies. And once again, I alter my food intake, and so should you, based on how I look. So if I feel like I'm getting too depleted, I'll increase my carbs. If I feel like I'm eating a lot of carbs but I'm still not looking full the way I should, I have to increase my fats. And so that's usually protein's always consistent with me. I try to hit about 180, 200 grams a day. And that seems to be enough for me. If I do more than that, I tend to grow better. But sometimes, like I said, I just don't have enough time to eat that much food. But that's neither here nor there. I just want to thank everyone also for supporting the Dave Palumbo Experience app. It's $29 a month. Download it at the iTunes or Android store. You get all my articles, all my videos I've ever done. We do a Q&A. Video exclusively for the app members. We put a workout every week up. I answer everyone's questions on the app. And you know what? The last 2 months, for some reason, we've got an enormous amount of people joining, which is great. And I want to thank you for the support. But I think people are realizing it's a very good resource for staying on top of the latest topics, having all your questions answered. And for $29, it's a bargain. So thank you guys.
Dave, I just wanted to, I didn't want to jump in and interrupt because you were giving a great answer about, again, your personal diets. But I think my mistake, I didn't emphasize the end of the question, the tail end of the question. The tail end of the question was really more so, it did seem as if the question was about you personally, but I think what they really meant to ask was as far as your coaching, if from the beginning of the time that you started coaching, you know, have your views changed at all in terms of the diets or diet philosophies for your clients?
No, but I'm a little more flexible now because you know what? I think I was a little rigid in how I pushed the diets on people because I wasn't doing as many diets. Remember, coaching wasn't a thing back in the day. So 15 years ago, I was doing diets for people. I wasn't doing, 50 diets at a time for people. So everyone kind of adhered pretty much to, my philosophy was low, basically low carbs, high protein, moderate fat. And nowadays I do, put more carbs into the diet for the people who seem to have a faster metabolism, a little bit more flexible with that. And I'll play around with, carb days, and I'll play around with, fat days. And I kind of vary it a little bit from day to day. But, I'm always adding new supplements. I don't even know. It evolves so slowly because as I'm learning more, I incorporate different techniques. Like I used to give steady cardio. So let's say we started out on 30 minutes a day. Then I would work up to 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and go higher if necessary. But it was always stationary. And I found that by staggering cardio, not giving the same amount every day, it seems to work better. And you don't have to increase it as much because you're shocking the body. So some days they may do 90 minutes of cardio, but the next day they might do 45 minutes. And that kind of like gets the body saying, what's the heck's going on here? So that has changed. So yeah, I've changed techniques a lot, but not the core basics, macros and stuff like that really have not changed that much. But like I said, I'm always flexible according to individuals because some people just have crazy fast metabolisms. Some people just don't adhere to the rules of science. And that's why I call them mutants. And that's why they're freaky bodybuilders. But so you have to be a little bit more flexible with those people.
Let's grab some questions from our Facebook page, from our Instagram page. Again, on Facebook, search RXMuscle. On Instagram, official_RXMuscle. I feel like we do get a lot of these questions regarding certain PEDs and how often or how close to a show you should stop them. So it's from Jeff Master Blaster Decker. Should you stop DECA close to show, or I guess your general guidelines as far as how far out from a show you should stop DECA?
I've seen, let me switch over here. I've seen bodybuilders back in the day, and even to this day, who didn't have a lot of money, didn't have access to getting anabolics, and were using DECA and testosterone from the minute they started their diet to the minute they got on stage, and they looked unbelievable. And then I've seen guys that have used every stack in the book with GH and taking this out and putting that in and water-based and changing. And you know what? They don't look that much better. So a lot of what you see on stage is genetics. Some of the best bodybuilders, even on the pro level, don't even do that much gear, believe it or not. You think they do because they look like they do, but they don't. And I know, who these guys are. So a lot of it's genetic. So for me to say you can't use DECA right up into a show, that's ridiculous. If I have bad joints, I'm going to use DECA right to the day of the show. I might not be on 600 milligrams. I might only be on 100 milligrams a week for whatever reason, because I'm on a lot of other stuff. But you can absolutely keep it in there. Personally, I just by convention, and I don't know if this is better or not, it just seems to have worked best. The last 6 to 8 weeks before a show, I like to go to testosterone, trenbolone acetate, Masteron, Winstrol. And that seems to be a really good stack with some little GH, clenbuterol, cytomel if necessary. And that's by convention what I use. It seems like those drugs hold the least amount of water, but yet if you keep a base of testosterone there, you stay full and look good. That's pretty much what everyone does, okay? How much they take of all these different drugs varies, but by and far, most people follow that regimen at this point. It's kind of the accepted way to do it, and it seems to yield the best results.
Let's go to a question about gut health probiotics. I feel like we used to talk a lot about this more back in the day. Denny Guemos wants to know if you could talk a little bit more about gut health probiotics, prebiotics. What's the best to take? How many bacteria colonies should you be taking? Refrigerated, shelf stable, and what about spore forming probiotics? Your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, as you know, this is a subject that's dear to my heart. I've been nurturing that topic for the last 13, 14 years now, ever since I launched Species Nutrition and came out with Fiberlize. Fiberlize, which is a soluble fiber supplement, not only has all the good cholesterol lowering effects and lowering your blood sugar and getting the colon working well and strengthening it and helping you poop, but it's a prebiotic. It's a prebiotic implies that the gut bacteria can use this source of whatever you're putting in there for fuel. And the gut bacteria like to ferment soluble fiber. Psyllium is a source of soluble fiber. When you take a supplement like Fiberlize, you're feeding the gut bacteria. So you're actually strengthening the probiotic bacteria in your colon. Now, some people need to seed their colon and their small intestine with new bacteria, because maybe it's getting killed off because they're eating a crappy diet, or maybe they had to take antibiotics or whatever else. Some people are on certain medications that damage the good gut bacteria. So I reformulated our protein pudding, which was a very popular product called Protolize. It hasn't been around for over a year because it took me so long to reformulate this, and I had to switch one ingredient because it wasn't available anymore. So vanilla and chalk going to back out on the speciesnutrition.com website. I'm sure it's probably on Amazon too if you shop there. And the Protolize, what I did was I fortified the pudding product with 7 strains of probiotics. Now, the advantage of these 7 strains is that they're shelf stable, meaning that they don't go bad if they heat it up. A lot of the problems with probiotics in the past has been that they die if they get, if they heat it, and so they have to be shipped on refrigerated, type situations on ice. And, in the past, I've recommended, Natron is a really good source of probiotics, but they come refrigerated. You got to keep them in your refrigerator. These are great because they're shelf stable. They don't activate until you add water and you actually consume the product, and then they activate themselves, and then they can seed the probiotic, flora in your colon and your small intestine. This product has been tested by me for months and months and months and months, over a year. It's so good that I don't even use any other probiotics anymore. All I do is take a serving of this every night, and it's a great treat before you go to bed. It's a pudding. Some people like to put it in the freezer, make an ice cream out of it. Some people put it in. Have you seen this new thing, Sid? It's called the Ninja, what is it called? The Ninja Creamy. The Ninja Creamy, people have been telling me about. I looked it up on Amazon. It's supposedly
you've actually gotten questions about that, and you use Protolize for that. Yeah.
Colette Nelson told me that she loves the thing. It's the greatest invention of all time. She said, but a lot of people are putting Protolize in the Ninja Creamy, and they're making like ice cream out of it, and it tastes exactly like ice cream coming out of it. So you can have an ice cream treat, virtually no carbs, great quality protein that tastes like ice cream and has probiotics in it. What's better than that? So if you want to, help your probiotic, situation out, try the Protolize. Continue to use the Fiberlize like you all are, and you'll always be feeding those gut bacteria and keeping them healthy. And that's really the best 1-2 punch you can do for gut health. Now that we got the Protolize with the 7 strains of shelf-stable probiotics plus the Fiberlize, you can't go wrong with that, really.
So there you go. You got a free plug there for Ninja Creamy as well. Let's go to Rodney Hickman. This might be a bit of a loaded question, and I don't know if this is homework assignment, personalized, or if you have a general guideline for this. Best cycle for strength.
I don't think it's a homework assignment. The problem with a strength cycle is a lot of the strength drugs kill your appetite. And if you're trying to get stronger, and I assume get bigger at the same time because they go together, you have to be careful of what compounds you take if you're not going to be able to eat. Like in the past, I can't tell you how many times I try to take Anadrol. And even at 25 milligrams a day, half a pill, I couldn't eat on this stuff. It killed my appetite. And you know me, I'm like probably got the greatest appetite of any bodybuilder in the history of the sport. Maybe Kai Green has me edged out and Juan Morel, but close. We're all close. But the point is that if you can't eat, you can't grow. So I don't like to include Anadrol on my best strength stack because if you can't eat on the stuff, then it's not good. But I will say that trenbolone acetate makes you insanely strong. Testosterone obviously makes you strong. So combining those two drugs, test and tren acetate, is definitely going to increase, is the best probably 1-2 punch for, injectables. Then you have to decide, all right, well, what do you want to do in terms of strength for orals? Halotestin gives a lot of strength, but it doesn't really increase muscle size. It's not anabolic. It's just androgenic. Once again, Anadrol seems like a good choice, but you can't eat on it. I would opt for Dianabol probably, at anywhere from 30 to 50 milligrams per day, because that does make you really strong. And for some reason, you can eat on D-bol. It gives, some people notice it kills their appetite a little bit, but it's not that bad. And they actually have an injectable Dianabol that you could, if you can find that makes you crazy hungry for some reason. It's funny. The injectable makes you hungry. The oral sometimes blunt your appetite, but either way, I like I would say Dianabol, Trenbolone, and testosterone for strength. And then if obviously growth hormone can never hurt in that whole stack, because it makes you hold a little fluid, gives you a little boost as well. There were guys back in the day who were doing that. What was I can't even remember the stuff. Oh my God, it was a drug, a Mibilirone. It used to be a drug you put, like check drops, you put them under your tongue, and they would make you super strong. I tried it once. I had indigestion for a week after using those. So I don't even know if they're available anymore. It's supposed to be used to put like female horses in heat or something like that. But those powerlifters used to use those back in the day, and they said they made you insanely strong. But like I said, my experience, I used it. I had indigestion for a week, so I wouldn't recommend it.
Earlier we had a question about DECA, and then you brought up the anti-inflammatory effects. Katie DeGenes wants to know if NPP has the same anti-inflammatory effects as DECA.
I've answered this question too, but I have not noticed that NPP is a very good anti-inflammatory. To be honest with you, I don't even know if it has any anti-inflammatory effects. I haven't. DECA is infinitely better. I can use 50 milligrams of DECA a week, and I get joint relief. And I've used, I really didn't have that much, experience with NPP. I just never used it because I was like DECA better. But I've used 600 milligrams of NPP a week just to see how I felt, and I got no anti-inflammation. And remember, I had chronically bad shoulders, so I knew when something was working or not in terms of anti-inflammation. So I would have to answer that question. No, it doesn't.
Dave, full disclosure, for those watching, this is going to be probably going up on Thursday. After hours, when did you want to get the guys on?
I think we're going to have to one more question because we're running out of time. But just so you guys know, this week I had a scheduling problem, so I wasn't able to record after hours on Tuesday because I was in New York for the New York Pro, and so I pushed it to Wednesday, and then so we don't want to put two shows on the same day. So you guys will be seeing after hours on Wednesday afternoon live, and then tomorrow you'll see this show. So one more question.
Right, so that means I'm going to be taking a lot of these questions that we're not going to get to, and perhaps we'll have some rant material out of that as well. Let me see if I can find a good one here. I'll take one from NY Bigger. We'll see how much time we get because he has good questions. Do you ever recommend consumption of fruit as part of a bodybuilding diet? Do you consume fruits today? How important do you think they are to your overall health?
I don't think, to me, fruits are a source of sugar. They're not a source of nutrients. I really think that the amount of nutrients in fruit is very sparse compared to the amount of excessive amounts of sugar that are in those fruits. So I've been taking this supplement for 30 years now. It's called Juice Plus. I have a link on my DavePalumbo.com website to it. I don't push it. I always recommend it to my clients. It's like 8 servings or 10 servings of fruits and vegetables without the sugar and without the fiber. They remove it. It's all the phytonutrients in the pills themselves. They do this. They remove all the sugar and the fiber from the fruit in an oxygen-free environment, so that the antioxidants and all the phytonutrients don't get oxidized. And I've been taking this product for years, and that's where I get my fruit and vegetable extracts from, without having to deal with all the sugar. I just don't think that eating fruit is actually a viable source of vitamins necessarily. So if you're taking a good quality multivitamin, multi-mineral, kind of like being mineralized, and then you take a fruit and vegetable extract from a company that makes it is reputable, I think that's the best way to go.
I'll squeeze in one more from Big Ant. The day of contest, how did you use sodium with your first few meals or as you're pumping up backstage?
When I was competing, everyone was anti-sodium the last couple of days. So I would eliminate sodium usually a day or two before, and it usually flattened me out, unfortunately. So I started realizing towards my second half of my competitive career that I never even cut sodium. Matter of fact, I'd be eating McDonald's like cheeseburgers and fries like every day leading up to the day of the show, just to keep the salt in there, because for some reason, if I cut salt, I got flat. And I see that with my clients now. I don't cut any sodium. I don't let them do excessive amounts the night before because I'm giving them a diuretic and I want the diuretic to work. But I don't cut sodium at all. Very, very infrequently do I cut it on people. And it seems to work better when you don't cut it. I know a lot of coaches are doing the same thing. So it must be a thing. Look, if you don't have enough sodium in your body, you're going to go flat. It's inevitable, and you're going to cramp. Some people are a little more water retentive than others. On those people, you might want to cut it back a little bit, or just use a little bit more diuretic. That'll push the salt out for you. I think that cutting it and changing, making those electrolyte changes too drastically can screw up how you look.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, right now on the channel, all the coverage from this past weekend's New York Pro, which saw Nick Walker edge out Martin Fitzwater in a 1-point decision. We have an interview not only with Nick Walker, but Martin Fitzwater as well. We had him in our post-show wrap-up, but we cut that out. We have that as a separate video altogether. Then our full and recap, which included Jim Mannion and Steve Weinberger giving us sort of an insight as far as why Nick Walker won and their thoughts on the show and really where pro bodybuilding is at this current moment, with all the new sponsorships and everything going on. So check that out right now on the channel. If you're watching this right now, that means the all new episode of After Hours, which we're about to record right now, is live on the channel. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss anything that we have coming up on this channel. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.